morning, guys. My name's Kirsten White for those who don't know me, and welcome back to my channel. So today I'm going to be going over some general questions that I received from some cadets that we had over in the hospital this summer. During the summer, we get college students who are going through the nursing program and also going through ROTC, and they just come shadow us for the summer just to ensure that this is kind of what they want. This is what they're getting themselves into if they already signed that bonus. It's an opportunity for them to ask us questions about our career and possibly receive some resources and mentors to guide them throughout their career and journey ahead. So I have a list of questions that they compiled, and I thought it'd be a great opportunity to get this out on YouTube to ensure that anyone who has these questions or is looking into this career or this field has this resource at their fingertips. So I'll just move along. So as background, if you haven't watched my other videos, I'm a captain in the United States Army. I am currently active duty. I've been active duty for the last 6 years. I commissioned in May of 2019 out of the University of New Hampshire. I actually met my husband there as well. So little dual military family action here, which I can also answer any questions to. My current day-to-day job is working as an ER nurse. So I do that for about 40-ish hours every week. In addition to that, I am also a flight nurse, and I'm actually getting ready to head out for a mission for the year. So I've done a lot of train-ups in the last couple weeks. I've been traveling a lot, and I've been able to go to these courses in different states to get everything I need for that setting, that deployment, that mission. So it's been really, really fun. I can get deep dive into my own personal career down the road if that's something that you guys are interested in. But for now, I'll go to the questions that the cadets and nurses and other people on social media have DM'd me. So question 1, what is your day-to-day schedule? So like I said just a couple minutes ago, right now it's about 80 hours every 2 weeks, which equates to about 40 hours. Some weeks you're working 44 hours on the floor, and other weeks you're working 36, so it kind of just equals out to 80 hours. That does not, however, include any additional tasks that you have as a soldier. So for example, the UPC of every unit, so it's called the Unit Practice Council. Most units all have that within the hospital. That usually doesn't count within your hours. I was the OIC of another project in the hospital for Org Day, for the hospital big celebration for all their employees. That doesn't count towards my hours. Taking the ACFT, going to the range, doing SRP. Usually, if you schedule that ahead of time, leadership will give you some time, but 9 out of 10 times, unfortunately, you're gonna have to do that on your days off, including like dental appointments, medical appointments. Don't get mad at me. That's not the regular for every single unit. If you do have, appointments that you need to reach out to and you need to talk to your command and your leadership that you need time off the floor, like please have that conversation. It does not mean you automatically have to work your 80 hours every 2 weeks and then also do those tasks. You can have that conversation with your leadership. It's just, I'm gonna give it to you guys real. You work way more than 8 hours every 2 weeks, like especially at the level that we're at or I'm at right now, being a captain, you just are more responsible for a lot more things. So, but typically I still feel like I do get enough rest. This season has not been that for me. It's gonna come in seasons, okay? Some seasons you're gonna be just like, I go to work and that's all I do, and then my off time is my off time. And other seasons it's like, you got a deployment, you're an OIC, you're part of the unit, you're morale, and you're also like a married woman with a house that needs to be taken care of. So go with the seasons, but it is typically supposed to be only 80 hours every week. And then this is just for Army nursing, by the way. For normal force comm, it's usually Monday through Friday. You get your holidays off. We do not get our holidays off in the hospital. You know that. And force comm, like for my husband, he's a commander right now. He gets his holidays off. He gets his weekends off. Typically, he still works a lot, but those are allotted time slots for the Army and force comm to just like take off. You work Monday through Friday, and you work really early hours on force comm, like 5 a.m. till 5 p.m. If anything, my husband would come into work at 5 a.m. and then like probably leave work around 1900 or 7 p.m. So give or take for both sides, the medical side and the force comm side. The next question I had was related to flight nursing. I have only become flight certified since December of 2024. Right now it is July of 2025. I went to the Joint Enroute Critical Care course, which is located in Fort Novasol, Alabama. There you do a 2-week program where they run simulations and give you a test, and then you're supposed to fly and, you know, get used to that feeling. I actually didn't fly on any aircraft while I was at Fort Novasol just due to weather, so it wasn't until after I became a certified flight nurse that I actually got a chance to fly in a Black Hawk. I've already spoke about this on my last video, like my personal video, but in order to get to JEC, you have to do a flight physical, and that entails just like a head-to-toe assessment of everything that's ever happened to you medically within the last several years of your life or even prior. You'll get blood work done, you'll get an EKG done, you get your hearing done, eyes, all that stuff, and then you sit down with a flight surgeon who kind of answers any other questions that he might have seen on your medical history. After that, you then have to wait for a really long time for someone to pass or fail you on your flight physical. I passed, and it still took a full year without any waivers or anything like that. And that's just because the system for flight physicals is kind of not great in the Army. I think when I called, because I was a little worried that I was already scheduled for a course in December, but my flight physical wasn't up yet, I called Fort Novasol and like everyone who processes it, and they pretty much emailed me back saying that there was only 1 or 2 people who were certified in the entire DoD. So goes to 1 to 2 people in Fort Novasol. So I understand it's really hard, and it's probably a lot of reading and exams that these professionals have to go through. So don't worry, they're looking at it. Just if you are slotted for a course or class and you need that slip up faster, just email them. You should have point of contact on the Fort Novasol website, and they are pretty good about answering and letting you know where you're at. Okay, the next question that I have is pertaining to just the nursing world, typical ratios that we get in the Army. So when you first get out of the Army, when you first get out of college, you have to do medical surgical time. That's what the Army likes. They liked us to have our foundation or base real solid before we specialize in like ICU, ER, PACU, all that good stuff. So in the medical surgical world, I would have, I think, a ratio of anywhere from 4 to 6 patients, but that's with an LPN. So I was always with another nurse, whether it was an LPN or another RN. Usually, typically, I was partnered with an LPN, and then as a total, we would have 6 to 7 patients. So a total of like 3 to 4 patients per person. Depending on what kind of unit, what floor, what facility you're at, they'll divvy up the patient ratio a little bit differently. I know for me, I worked at San Antonio, which was Brooke Army Medical Center, and for my specific floor, we always like having 6 to 7 patients, and I was responsible for 4 patients and my LPN was responsible for 3. It doesn't mean that I didn't do, RN level things. So I still had to do IV push medications. I still had to do the first assessment for patients, and any skill that they needed assistance with, I was the nurse. I also had to sign off on all their assessments. So depending on how much you work with that person is the amount of trust you kind of give that person. So are you gonna really go behind and do a full assessment behind that person, or have you been working with that person for multiple months and you trust them, and that if there was anything critical, that they would come to you for help or for clarification. 4 to 1 for typical, and even as in an ER right now, I'm typically only 4 to 1. If I have any ICU patients, trauma patients, really sick patients, I go down to 1 to 1. It is hard sometimes with staffing. It's probably the same in the civilian sector. I know it's the same in the civilian sector because I have actually worked in Texas and New Hampshire in the civilian sector, but staffing is not always the best, so we do what we can. I still never, in the ER at least, have gone more than 4 patients. I have that luxury because we still have a waiting room, and although patients can get sick, we can pull leadership and we can pull other people to help with that population. Other questions that they had pertaining the nursing world, they just want to know like what the work environment, work culture was like. So We work side by side with military and with civilians. There are some contractors, and then there's also some government or GS civilians. So those are like your long-term civilians who work with the government as well. As far as military, it's dependent on the sites that you go to. So right now I'm only working with other Army military. In the last station that I was at, I was working with a couple Naval and a couple Air Force side by side, like really, really closely. As far as culture, it's gonna be really dependent on like the facility itself and the floor. And I know that's just kind of a cop-out, but I personally haven't had any bad experiences with any floor. I've truly loved them, but you definitely know where your strengths are on every floor. So let's say med-surg. My civilians rocked it. Like, we went to our civilians for everything. We went to our civilians for any question we had, because basically every nurse who is military on that floor, this is where they're supposed to start. This is new nurses, less than 2 years experience. So we relied on our GS and our civilians so much, and they were always just an amazing resource. As far as the ER, it's a little bit different. I feel like both the military and the civilians are all really, really strong, because the military are not brand new anymore. You know, I'm 6 years in. We're also expected to start at a higher level of understanding. The military folk, we are required to go to the 5-month program where we do a test every single week, as well as papers, as well as 2 presentations and an oral exam and all that good stuff. So it was really, really intense. There's actually a decent amount of people who end up dropping out or failing due to the requirements that they have. And because of that, I feel like it is a very strong base for military nurses. On top of that, we are required to get our board certification if you want to get any of the bonuses. So there's like a 2-year, 3-year, 4-year, and 6-year bonus. And in order for you to receive those bonuses, you have to get your board certification. So they're really trying to ensure that you are educated and that you are top notch in your field specialty, and that, you know, they can throw you into those deployment situations and that you are going to handle them well as the solo nurse or as a solo team. Oh, and also a little bit tangent of why I love my civilians. If we ever go to a big war, who do you think holds the hospital down? Like, they're sending us off. So listen to your civilian nurses, have a great relationship with them. They are a resource. They've been there for years upon years. Like, I know some of my civilian nurses, they've been here since like early 2000. And I'm not trying to exaggerate, but like some of their paperwork that I saw for when they first oriented here was like from 1997. And they have so much knowledge to teach you. So please, please listen to them. They're amazing people. Okay, so the next question that I have are, what are my chances of getting my desired location? So unfortunately, it really, really depends. So first of all, it's by the needs of the Army for the most part. When you first graduate out of college, there's only, I think, 11 to 14 sites that are CNTP qualified or have that program for brand new nurses. So you are only going to be able to go to like Joint Base Lewis McChord, Washington, Fort Hood, Texas, Fort Cavazos. I don't know, they keep going back and forth with the name. Fort Sam Houston, San Antonio. I know there's one at Fort Gordon. I know there's one in Washington, D.C., Hawaii, Tripler. And I think I'm missing a few, but I'll look for a list and hopefully pop it on here. But those are the only locations that you can go to for your first duty station. The chances of you getting your desired location for the first go around, it's really dependent on your OML. So what you get as your OML in college, that entails like your GPA, your ACFT, sorry, APFT was the OG. Your GPA, your ACFT, how well you did in Fort Knox, Kentucky for advanced camp or CST, I don't know what you guys call it now. I went in like 2017, 2018 era. And then just your peer reviews. And based on that, you still might not even get your desired location, because they could be pulling up all the places, and even though I named all those duty stations, they're like, those are all over strength, so we're only going to give you 3 options, and those 3 options might not be any of the stations that you want. For the first duty station, Honestly, just roll with the punches. Enjoy your time, especially as a brand new lieutenant in the Army. I think about those times and all the friends that I made and all the learning opportunities and the growth, and that time in Texas has a really, really special place in my heart, and all the friends and family that I made throughout the first couple of years in the Army, it's just like, those are your OGers, those are your friends for life. After that, when it comes to desired location, again, it's always going to be by the needs of the Army, but we also now have a new thing that within the last couple of years started, and it's like the AIM cycle, and this is when you interview with units, and it depends what MOS or rank you are, but there's going to be a list of jobs that get released for when you are in that AIM cycle, and then you kind of rank every job that you want. So let's say company command or OIC or floor nurse, and you rank all those and all their locations, and then you also need to reach out to those units so you can schedule an interview, because they're not going to reach out to you guys. There's a lot of people reaching out to them. So if you want a better chance of getting that job, you need to rank them high, and then you also need to reach out to the unit and make sure you set up an interview. And then depending on how well you do with that and your OERs and everything that you have to show for, the unit will rank all the soldiers that ranked them, and HRC will just do their thing. And sometimes you still won't get what you want. This sounds so awful, but I'm just telling the truth, because even if your unit ranks you as number 1 and you rank that unit as number 1, there are still programs like the EFMP program, which is the Exceptional Family Member Program, and the MACP program, which is the Married Army Couple Program. So after all of that is done, HRC will, get all the data, and then they'll also then plug in the EFMP and MACP program. They do this so that they can ensure that soldiers with exceptional family members, are located in duty stations that have what they need for their family member. As well as the MACP, my husband and I, they want to ensure that they don't separate us more than they already do. My husband and I did the first 3 years of our Army life in 2 different stations. I was at Fort Sam Houston, he was at Fort Stewart. Granted, we weren't married yet and we were just dating, so they don't really care about engagements or dating or anything. They want to see that official paper. Once we did get officially married, they did actually move us up here to JBLM, Washington, and we've been here since 2022 December timeframe. Because of those programs, even if you do, get that 1-for-1, HRC is just going to do their thing and make sure that they still take care of those families, and they might boot you out. And I'm sorry, and I'm really, really sorry. I'm not trying to, but because of that, things just happen. But again, I emphasize, please do not be so caught up and upset with your desired duty station. I thought I wanted to be at Fort Gordon so that I can be closer to my husband, now boyfriend at the time, because he was at Fort Stewart. And that would have been like a 2.5-3 hour drive every weekend if I did end up doing that. And if I did end up doing that, I wouldn't have met everyone that I met in Texas. I wouldn't have fallen in love with the state of Texas. I wouldn't have met my best friends. I just wouldn't have grown as a person. So everything happens for a reason. Either grow, or you let, these bad feelings, these, oh, poor me, I didn't get that desired location, eat you up. And don't be the second one. Enjoy the time, because time flies by. I cannot believe I am 6 years, going on 7 years about to be active duty time. I'm still shocked. Have so much fun. Take every opportunity that you're given to the best of your ability, and just make the most out of it. Also, military people are just built different, and military friends are just forever. So everywhere you go, there will be other lieutenants and officers that you can befriend and make the best memories with. The next question that I have asks about leave, passes, and how holidays are for nurses. So as far as leave, you get 30 days of leave every year. So you get like 2.5 every month added to your balance. As far as passes, It's really dependent on the unit that you're with, but you're supposed to be able to take a pass on your days off. So let's say I work 3 days in a row and then I get 4 days off and then I work the next 3 days again as a nurse. Technically, a pass doesn't count within your hours, so you don't get hours off of your work week. So you can take a pass for that Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, and that's a 4-day pass because it's on your off duty. And with that, it doesn't get counted as your leave. So you can have 30 days of leave every year, but then you can use those, 4-day passes as much as your command lets you. As far as holidays, different duty stations do them differently, especially for nurses. But in my first duty station, we had kind of a bidding. So you ranked your holidays like Thanksgiving, 4th of July, Christmas, New Year's Day, all in like your preference of like what I want off, what I don't. And then depending on that, they sat down all the nurses and like, this is the list of what everyone wants and this is what I could do. Do you have any questions? And I kind of like that because I'm not really big into Thanksgiving. Like I didn't really grow up with a heavy Thanksgiving. I was always willing to work on that day, especially because nurses know how to cook. And we just have a party at work anyways. As well as Christmas, like as much as I love going home, like I don't have children yet. And if I can see my family, before or after Christmas, it doesn't necessarily mean that I have to have Christmas Day off. So last year I actually worked at Christmas and then I flew on Christmas Day night to see my family. At the new duty station I'm at now, unfortunately, we don't do any bidding. Civilians have a Panama schedule and that's it. That's their block. If they want to take any leave or schedule anything, it has to be like a whole year ahead or months ahead. As far as military, because we are going on missions, training and all that, we're supposed to be on Panama, but it gets broken up a lot, which is fine. I don't mind not being on Panama. I actually like working on both teams because if I am on a strict Panama, which I was for like 4 to 5 months at one time while I was here, you just never see the opposite team. And I love seeing all my coworkers because I love all my coworkers. So because of that Panama schedule, the civilians already know whether they are going to ask for holidays off or not. I don't really know the real rules for civilians, but I know it's a little bit of a different process. For the military, it's kind of the same thing. We just have to reach out to our leadership and then amongst ourselves, because I think there's only a pool of like 16 to 18 military nurses in my ER, talk with each other to see like who's taking leave and then is there any wiggle room that, oh, you haven't been home in 3 years, or oh, you haven't, you're going to a wedding. Like we will give and take as much as we can to make it fair for everyone. So overall, I think leave and passes for the military has been phenomenal. And unlike the civilian sector in nursing, and I don't know how this works in civilian sector, but when you take leave, you're still getting paid. So if you are taking 3 weeks of leave, it's not like you don't get paid for that month. You're still getting your full paycheck. So I think that's pretty awesome. So the next block of questions I have to do with finances. So are there any financial supports? What do they offer? Any local recruiters for colleges, for civilians, or DCC, which is direct commission course? I'll start with that. For anyone who isn't an ROTC, who isn't doing like the traditional route, which is you join college, you go through your college recruiter there, they'll get you set up, they'll offer you a scholarship for the most part. For Army nurses, at least, I know they're always trying to give out 2 Army Nurse Corps scholarships, at least at University of New Hampshire. So if you're interested, UNH is it. But every college is a little bit different. They have a different quota and how many nurses they're supposed to commission. So for UNH, I was lucky. I came in 2 years late and they had no nurses above me. So I was like a sophomore in college and they were just 0 senior nurses or junior nurses, or senior year nurses or junior year nurses. So they had almost like 6 scholarships unused. So they were really ready to hand me that scholarship. Like, you joined the Army, we got you. So I had my college paid for the last 2 years, which is really nice. I did still end up college with some student loans, which I ended up just financing and then paying off. As far as civilians and direct commission, if you already are a nurse and you're interested in this career, there is a route that you can still go to. In order to be an Army Nurse Corps officer, just know that you do need your BSN or your college degree. So make sure you have a 4-year degree and then go to your recruiter, and that's how you become into the officer corps. You will then go to the direct commission course, which is, I believe in Oklahoma, just like a couple week program, and it's just teaching you how to kind of wear a uniform, how to march around, and Army basics. Very, very, very basic. I've honestly heard kind of bad things about the direct commission program over there, especially because I know some enlisted soldiers have had to go through it, and they're like, you literally learn nothing, and it was just a headache for them. Don't worry, because even if you feel like you didn't learn anything there, you'll still have to go through basic officer leadership course at Fort Sam Houston, which is a 5-month course, and you'll learn more Army things. Aside from that, when it comes to financial support and promotions, so you come into the Army as a first lieutenant or a butter bar. It's a little golden bar, that's why we call it butter bar. And then after 18 months, you automatically promote to first lieutenant, which is the black solid bar. And when I mean automatic promotion is that as long as you have no flags, you're passing your fitness test, you're doing all the good stuff, just don't break rules. At the 4-year mark, you are up for captain. And for the most part, for the last several years that I've been, or for the last 6 years that I've been in, captain has been almost also automatic, as long, again, as you don't break rules, you follow the rules, you're not flagged for anything. The Army Nurse Corps has not been cutting back on that level. I know there has been some cutbacks in the last couple of years, but as far as lieutenants and captains, I think they're still not making their quota. They are struggling to retain Army Nurse Corps officers, and that's why they have all these new bonuses, incentives, so that people are more willing to stay a couple more years. Major promotion, that's around the 10-year mark, and then lieutenant colonel is around the 15, 16, and then same thing with colonel, which is 19 and up. After that, I don't really want to talk about general time, because that's just a whole nother boat. If you want to talk to a general, you might want to find one, because that ain't gonna be me. So with every promotion, you get a pay bump, as well as you get a pay bump at year 2, 3, 4, 6, and then after that, it's every 2 years. On top of your pay bump or your salary, every year, the government looks at our base pay. They increase it based on inflation and other factors happening around the world. So it can be anywhere from 1 to 3% every year. In the last 6 years that I've been here, it's been around the 1 to 3%. On top of your base pay, you get BAH, which is your basic allowance for housing, which is not taxed. You also get BAS, which is for like food and your daily needs. You also are getting free medical care, so you have your TRICARE, you have your dental care. You also have tuition assistance for officers. I'm just going to speak from my standpoint. I get about $4,500 a year to spend on tuition assistance. With that, you can get other certificates that don't necessarily pertain to your degree. For example, I've always wanted to do something with nutrition, fitness, all that, so I could get my personal training certificate through my tuition assistance. You can also get your CrossFit level. I know friends who have done that. They've gotten their CrossFit level 1 certification from their tuition assistance. Other additional financial support, you get your VA loan. You just have to wait a couple months to use it. You have to be on active duty for a couple months, and then you can get your VA loan. I used it to buy this house. It's been very, very fun. You also get extra pay for any specialty like aerosol. I get flight pay, any language that you use for the Army, and then my board certification, I already said I get that pay. And then when you're in deployment setting, you get separation pay from your family. So my husband and I are getting like a couple $100 extra. You also get hazard pay depending on what country you're at, providing the mission for. Okay, the last question that I got, which I saved best for last, is, am I happy? I'm laughing, but I'm being serious. Thought that was a cute question. So, am I happy is the big question of the day. Yes, I'm very, very happy. And I'm not just saying that. There have definitely been months, weeks, years, where I questioned to continue doing this. In 2023, I hit that period where I could decide to get out of the Army or I could decide to stay. And as you guys know, I am still here. Here's why. There have definitely been hard times, and there are times where it'll test you, and there are also times where you'll be doing a job that you don't want to do. Like, I had to do an administrative job for honestly less than a year. It was supposed to be a year, but it ended up being less than a year because that general that I was working for was moved to another station earlier. But when I was doing that job, I did not enjoy it. I came into work smiling and I was very cheerful and professional and happy the entire time, but I did not want to be there. You're that general I work for, I'm so sorry. It's not because of you, it's just, to be honest, it didn't align with my goals. I love patient care. I love nursing. I'm very, very passionate about being able to help someone in their time of need. I'm also very, very passionate of medicine in general. I love being aware, not just for my patient's sake, but for my own personal life. I think it's so, so cool when you can use what you learned in college or at work to better yourself and better your life. And I think just working in the medical field, kind of a cheat point because you know exactly what you shouldn't be doing. Do I always listen to myself? Do I always listen to evidence-based practice on what I should be eating and what I should be doing and how much sleep I should be getting? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. But I love being able to use myself as a resource, especially, you know, in the future when I decide that I want to have kids with my husband. I work in the ER and I see children all the time. I see babies all the time. I'm going to use everything I learned from a nursing standpoint with my own children. So I'll know what to do when my kids start to have this or when my baby is exhibiting this. Like, although I went to nursing school, you just don't have that knowledge until you are like really in there working one-on-one with these kids. And because of that, because I love nursing so much, I did not like working at a desk. I did not like pushing papers, and I did not like making PowerPoints, and I did not like having presentations on bigger scale, bigger picture things. And I know it's really important. I know someone has to do it, but that was not for me. And who knows, maybe one day I'll go back to administrating. Maybe I will eat my own words. But as of right now, I love being bedside. I love education. I love providing medical care. And those are the jobs that I really align with. Once I also got here to JBLM, I also just met one of the best groups I've ever worked with. And that entails the peers that I'm with and also the leadership that I currently am under. Like I said, in 2023, I could have left the Army at that point. And I honestly was going back and forth because I thought about having kids, about how my career should align with my goals and my values in my life. After speaking with my leadership and then speaking with my husband and just kind of self-reflecting, I realized that I still am very much so enjoying the Army and Army nursing in general. There's definitely pros and cons of staying in the military, and there's definitely pros and cons into the civilian sector as a nurse. And regardless, either way, I knew I was going to have a job that I love, because I can still be a nurse in the civilian sector or I can be a nurse in the Army. It's just, the biggest thing for me was the Army going to be stable enough for me and my family at this time for me to want to continue? And when I had that conversation with my husband and myself and just reflected, the answer is and still is yes. I think the Army brings a lot of great opportunities for me as a nurse. I definitely never would have thought that I would have gotten into flight nursing as a civilian nurse. I know it's a very long process and it's a little bit more difficult. You need more years of experience, and I think the Army just has a lot of great opportunities for anyone to do what they love. Like, I really wanted to be a flight nurse, and here I am. I know it takes some time, but if you trust the process and you continue to give your all and your best, people will recognize that and you'll be given opportunities to do what you love. For me, it was flight nursing, which I will be doing all year this year and into the next year. Other opportunities that I would love to be able to do is educate and teach. And I know if you're gonna be any sort of nurse educator in the civilian sector, they want your master's in education or something along those lines. There's just a lot of red tape when it comes to broadening your job description in the civilian sector, whereas in the Army, you really can choose the path that you want. You could be bedside and carve that path, or you can go on the administrative side and carve that path. You can go on the command side and you can do a lot of leadership roles and be a commander and OIC and all that good stuff. You have so much power. You just have to find your mentors, talk to your leadership, and really sit down with them to have that conversation, because the biggest reason why I'm still so happy in the Army, and I know a lot of reason for a lot of my friends getting out, or the reason why they weren't happy, is the opportunities they weren't or were given. Been super grateful to have these opportunities and have these conversations with leadership, and it's not the same for everyone, unfortunately. Like, I came into this team, a smaller team in the state of Washington, and it is a great team and a small pool, so we're all a tight-knit family. When you go into those bigger stations, let's say like Brooke Army Medical Center, there's a lot of military, and you know, there's still only one leader for everyone there, and they're the ones making sure everyone gets, you know, the opportunity or education that they want. And unfortunately, that's not how it always goes. And I think that's another big takeaway from this, is that even though BAMC is amazing and everyone wants to go there because it's the only level 1 trauma center in the entire DoD, your opportunities to grow, it's going to be a little bit limited, because it is a massive ocean where when you go into these smaller facilities, these smaller hospitals, you can be involved in so many different things and make a name for yourself, and then also get into opportunities that you wouldn't have gotten if you were in a much bigger hospital. I'm getting into a tangent about other things, but at the end of the day, yes, I am happy. Am I going to be happy every single day? No. There are a lot of stressful days, and I do agree with that, but I also think the Army has taught me to become tougher in a sense, you know, not just like physically with our ACFT, but also mentally. But this is a reminder that doing a job or staying in a job that doesn't align with your goals or your values or what you want out of life does not make any sense. So the second that, you know, I start to feel a misalignment with what I'm doing in the military, I have no problem walking away. And I think because I created that mindset for myself that I'm not going to be like, whoa, if I stay in 11 years, I have to stay in the next 9. I used to be like that. I used to be like, what's the point? Like, I have to stay in the additional 9 years if I'm going to put 11 years in already. No, don't do that to yourself. That's so unhealthy. That's so mentally taxing. Do not plan your life out for the next 12 years of your life. That's just ridiculous. My husband, the job that he's doing in the military doesn't really align with his goals and his values. So guess what? He's actually getting out of the military within the next year or 2. And by the time that my husband gets out of the military, he'll probably been in for 10 years, which everyone's like, you should just stay in. You're already halfway there. You 10 more years till retirement. But don't do that to yourself. Do not put that mentality in your head, because you're gonna keep pushing through things that aren't meant for you. Like, something out there that's meant for you that will make you happy and fulfilled, and you need to do that. You need to do that job. Right now, the Army is making me happy. It's making me fulfilled. I'm very happy with the career I have, and as long as it keeps doing that, and as long as it aligns with my morals, my values, and my family's morals and values, I will continue to do it. So, but now that I'm done going in circles about that, I hope I answered any questions that you guys have. If you have any additional questions, please feel free to DM me or comment below. I also can be found on Instagram. If your questions are a little bit more personal, feel free to DM me there. If there are any questions that are kind of like iffy with national security and all that stuff, I will have you reach out to me via your military email, and then I'll be happy to respond back via military email, just so that it could be a little bit more private. But anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this. Thanks so much for stopping by and supporting me on my channel. If you guys truly enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you guys next time.